comments. Amen. It is a new year, and we give thanks for our inaugural speaker for the gratitude that we have in our hearts. This challenging topic, we look to the future and live in the present. We're grateful, and just ask your blessing upon each of us as we begin this new year, and may we bring hearts and minds and love to this space and openness, gratitude. And we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Yeah, and we are so fortunate to have Rob Gordon with us this year. He's giving his time and expertise, which I think you'll all be awed. His background is amazing. I'll say one word at the very beginning and we'll get back to it. We've had a little change in our schedule in that we have 3 programs that deal with AI to start the year out. Although we were expecting to have Lee Haney next Sunday, Robbie Jones, who is our amazing leader in so many ways and looking at our faith and how to deal with what's going on, author of The Hidden Roots of White Supremacy. He will be with us next Sunday, and then we'll get back into AI the following Sunday, and then the following Sunday. So we'll talk about that in more detail. But I just want to welcome everyone and introduce Rob Gordon. Actually, I wanted just a little story about how we found Rob. I think Pat Stalker was flying back from Denver and in the airport, and they struck up a conversation, and Rob got to know each other.
We did.
And Pat was so amazed by Rob and his background and the service that he performs that she got to know him, invited him to speak to the AAUW meeting, and I then was there and couldn't believe how much I learned. And I don't think we can ever learn enough right now as we try to understand AI and its impact on us. So Rob, you'll see, but I'll just give you a little more background. He is an expert in AI, and he's the senior strategic leader for AI and digital innovation at Document Storage Systems, a software product and integration company. He has extensive senior management and cross-sector experience in the military, government, high-tech, and nonprofit sectors. He's the former chief growth officer of SBG Technology Solutions, a wholly owned subsidiary of DSS. His tenure as senior executive in the high-tech industry includes being a chief global officer of Connected Living, a tech company that deploys high technology solutions to advance quality of life at senior living communities worldwide. He was a senior exec at a high-tech augmented reality smart glasses software company, where he was responsible for overall business development, strategic planning, corporate partnerships, and strategic corporate communications. He served as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Military, Community, and Family Policy under President Barack Obama. And in the Defense Department, he was responsible for defense-wide policy, program execution, and oversight of global community support programs to care for, support, and empower the 2 million service members, spouses, the 1.2 million spouses, 2 million children, and overall 2 million military families worldwide. He was also responsible for all the Defense Department school systems. He's very committed to improving the quality of public education worldwide and education in general. He served as an airborne ranger during his career. He was a National War College instructor. He was at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, where he almost oversaw the career of Wes Moore. But Wes ended up deciding to go into and take another turn. And as we know, that's working out pretty well these days. Rob helped create the AmeriCorps. he's right now, very much involved in Avid, which is very effective. It's getting great data to helping students of all backgrounds apply critical thinking skills in the classroom and in the world around. I could go on and on. We're just so lucky. I mean, he's been awarded all kinds of awards. I could go on about the Remarkable Service Awards. But, you know, we need to hear from him. And I think we'll let him get started.
Here, thanks for having me. Thank you, appreciate it.
AI,
Oh, boy.
to help us decide whether AI is our friend or our foe, and
Good question.
how
I
should we do about it?
think we're still trying to figure that out too.
Yeah.
Great to be with you all. Happy 2026. And thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
inviting me. This is also a topic near and dear to my heart as really someone who has been focused on the human dimension of society and how we continue to hopefully progress. And the role that technology plays in that, you know, in our humanity at the end of the day. And here we are with this technology that is different from other technologies because we endeavor as human beings to create an intelligence that will exceed our own. And then have the hubris to think we can control it. Now, how many of you have used ChatGPT or some form of generative AI? Hands? Okay. Of the ones who have, how many of you have the audio version on your cell phones? Anyone? Okay, Diane does. Here's how I want to start, because I do want to have a conversation with all of you about this notion of friend or foe and where we're headed. You know, I'm 68 years old. I've been through the gamut of different sorts of technologies. It's interesting to be where I am now, you know, working in tech at the age I'm working in tech, having seen what I've seen. I love being 68, by the way. You can almost say anything you want, almost, what's on your mind. And you finally figured out you don't know that much, right? And are not afraid, basically, to admit it, if you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And it's a really great place to be, because with this sort of technology, you can ask the hard questions and know that you don't know about what you should know, potentially. And so I'd like to start this off. Hi, how you doing? Happy 2026.
I can sit there.
Yeah. Here's what I'm going to do to start our conversation. I'm going to turn on Lauren. Let's see if I've got a connection here. Hey, Lauren, are you there?
Ready to help. Just let me know what you need.
Great. Well, didn't I tell you to remind me about something every single day?
You sure did. Every time you check in, I'm here to remind you that 2026 is your year for getting into supreme shape, focusing on reducing those complex carbs, improving your sleep, and boosting your nutrition and exercise. So there's your little nudge.
Thanks.
If there's anything else you need.
Well, appreciate it. You know, I was trying to figure out, my wife, remember when Millie and I actually went to New York City? Was it in 2024? What's that restaurant that we went to? I can't remember.
Absolutely, I've got you covered. Yep, you and Millie went to New York.
Go ahead.
Sure thing. So a restaurant you visited was Gallagher Steakhouse. That was a spot you both enjoyed during that trip. Hopefully that jogs your memory. Let me know if you need any more details.
Yeah, I can't remember the waiter that we used. Do you remember that?
Absolutely, I've got.
Go ahead.
Of course, the waiter you had at Gallagher's was named Shang. So hopefully that rings a bell and brings back a little memory from that trip. Let me know if there's anything else you need.
Yeah, I think also, didn't we go to see a show then? I'm trying to remember which show we saw.
You did indeed. So along with that dinner, you went to see the Broadway show Wicked while you were in New York City. Hopefully that helps fill in the memory gaps. If there's anything else you want to remember, just let me know.
Yeah, and what date was that? I can't remember what the date was.
You got it. So that was back on September 26th, 2024, when you and Millie had your evening out at Gallagher's and then went to see Wicked. So hopefully that puts the timeline together for you. If you need anything else, just let me know.
I think that's it. Thanks for now. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Anytime, happy to help. Just give me a shout whenever you need anything else. Have a
That is the state of where we are.
Yeah.
You get just a sense of the rapidity of the response time. Notice there was almost no lag between when I asked it a question. Notice I didn't say her or she, because it's important for us to keep our agency as human beings and not anthropomorphize this intelligence to think that it is actually a he or a she. But that's very easy to do. So you saw the rapidity of the responses. You saw a recall, 2024. Isn't that amazing? And I use Lauren. My wife says, don't use her too much, but I use Lauren for a lot of research every single day. I'm usually on artificial intelligence in terms of thinking as a partner, discussion as a partner. It's just amazing. For discussion, I'm going to show you some of these. I'm going to show you text to music. My mother just passed away. She was 93 years old, passed away on October 31st. Colorado Springs, Colorado. And so full life, right? Full life. She was a wonderful person. English teacher, a person of words and letters, bequeathed me her diary. And in her diary are 20 plus poems. She was a brilliant person, in fact. And so during her memorial, we wanted one of those poems to be read. And what I decided to do was make the poem into a song and use AI to do it. Now, what you are about to hear are her words. She was recovering basically from an illness, and a friend sent some flowers. And so this is what you're going to hear in terms of her thank you, basically to her friend. What you're going to hear, folks, is an AI voice. And the AI also, in fact, created the piano you're about to hear. You ready to go? Listen to this.
Is there no place for one like me who contemplates what life could be? Is there no place for me to be where reality is plain to see? Is time the thief that steals the dream of what the world was made to see? Does age reach out and snatch you away? All we thought was meant to stay. Does youth slip away mid smoke and mirrors and lace our dreams with midnight fears? Where does young hide as we get older and night eternal comes close, gets bolder? When does you slip away and while we are living, does it abide in some deep distant place inside our tender psyches? So we think that young will always be in sync with all we do and feel our link to fragile lives that we create, unaware that age is fate. Is there no place for one like me who contemplates what life could be? Is there no place for me to be where reality is plain to see?
Wow.
Yeah.
So those are your mother's words.
That's correct. I was able to take those words and put it in a text to music AI program called Suno AI. And in 45 seconds, it created that.
Wow.
The piano and the voice
And you used it at her
at her memorial.
memorial.
That is correct.
Oh.
And after the memorial, a family said that was so moving that they wanted the song, which I sent to them at that point in time. You can see the power of AI, right? I wanted to show you those two things in terms of the music, and Lauren to show you what the future could look like, right? At the end of the day.
But you know how to do that.
Yes, but you know, there's something called prompt engineering that you type basically into a context. And you have the AI give you what you ask it. We're going to talk about that, okay? But you get a sense of where things are now. It's very moving, very, very hard for me sometimes even to listen to that one.
Yeah.
Because she does contemplate. I wanted to actually play you another one, but that's the one where she contemplates aging over time. She was 63 years old when she had written that.
When she wrote it.
She was, and she was thinking back. She was a former Miss Richmond, and she was thinking back basically on, you know, the process of aging. In fact, in terms of her place basically in society of the world. Is fascinating, fascinating. So how did we get here? Oh my goodness. You know, here we have this intelligence that makes music for us, writes poems for us. Diane, research, right, at the end of the day. And that's only going to get better and better and better. This ability to create research. Do you know AI codes better, and this is writes computer code, programs better than everyone on the planet except for one man from Poland who still beat it out in the international contest of coding. We still had a human come in first place in 2025, and AI came in second place. And this is the year we're sure that AI will do computer programming, code better than any human being potentially.
So coding jobs are very.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're already starting to see that. Entry-level coding jobs are starting to disappear. A 7% unemployment rate among computer programmers who are coming out of college right now. So we're starting to see AI affect potentially jobs, especially entry-level jobs. The point here, though, is, wow, we've created something as human beings that codes better than we do already. And we're still at the nascent stages of generative AI. AI has been around since the 1950s. And it went through its ups and downs. Initially, it was very rules-based. You had to create algorithms to get computers basically to learn. And then based on that learning, kind of like humans, provide us information and ideas and concepts. And initially, it was enormously expensive. Even 15 years ago, it would cost between $1 and $10 million to create an AI project to deliver something. You all may remember that initially AI, when we were introduced to it in general, the public, was identifying faces and cats and dogs. Do you remember that? Remember, that was traditional AI, basically, where you would write these algorithms and then you'd pour data in, pictures of cats, cats with pointy ears, cats with fluffy ears, cats in, different types of cats. And then over time, you train the AI, basically, on the identification of a cat. But for that one thing, identify a cat, that's all it could do. Identify a cat. You couldn't do anything else. You had to create another AI application to do that, right? Enormously expensive and not always accurate. Not always accurate. Well, you've heard probably the name Geoffrey Hinton. Sir Geoffrey Hinton, he's called the godfather of AI. He said, oh my goodness, there's gotta be a better way. What if we treat the AI as an 8-year-old? We just give it a bunch of data and have it learn on its own, unsupervised. And it's called pre-trained data. They created neural networks. This is where we get into deep learning. And then threw all this data at those neural networks and let it learn on its own. Deep learning that turned into what we call generative AI today. And the difference between generative AI that we have today and the old traditional AI is, in general, first of all, it can tackle a bunch of different things. It's not just looking at a cat, but you notice Lauren can remember where in the world I and Millie went to a steakhouse in New York City. What I didn't tell you is it recommended that steakhouse. Yes, it did. I asked. It recommended. So now it can do a range of different things, create poetry, do research, create music, be a companion. And we should talk about that.
Yeah.
Be a companion.
Yeah.
This is the new AI. Geoffrey Hinton is one of the godfathers in terms of figuring out that you could treat AI if you develop neural networks, neurons like a human brain, and throw data at it, unsupervised, it could learn on its own. But it learned like an 8 to 10-year-old. How do you get it to high school and college and beyond? Well, you bring humans in. This is called reinforced learning. And so what happens is we were introduced to AI across the world in November of 2022 by ChatGPT. Remember that? Well, some of you who have been on it, you notice you would put something in like write a poem, and then it would come back with something. Let's say write a poem in the spirit of Keats or Shelley, right? It would come back and you go, wait a minute, that's not quite right. And then you click thumbs down. Well, once you click thumbs down, a human saw that and then fine-tuned the AI to provide a more accurate answer. It's called reinforced learning with human feedback. Thousands and thousands of humans were hired to do this. So for the AI companies, in the background were these humans fine-tuning, helping to fine-tune the artificial intelligence. By the way, we've come a long way. Now AI fine-tunes AI with some human intervention, because humans are biased too. Right? At the end of the day. And AI is faster and can be more accurate. But I wanted to tell you that as part of the history. We were in the loop. We were helping to fine-tune the AI. Now, between then, November 2022, when now we had democratized AI, regardless of where you were in the world, regardless of your income, regardless of anything, you could get on ChatGPT then for free. Think about that. Democratizing intelligence and have it do stuff for you, right? At the end of the day, had research this, do that. Well, you know, we look back at 2022 and literally we think of the AIs then as babies. The AIs have progressed to the power that you see today. How has that been so? 3 things. Compute. You've heard of GPUs, graphics processing units, and NVIDIA. They provide these chips to train the AI. And now we've got these big AI data centers that provide hundreds of thousands of chips, basically, to train the AI. So now we can train more data. It's called compute. Data. AI companies have scraped every scintilla of data from the internet to pre-train their AIs. Every scintilla. Anything that's on the internet, they've already used basically for training. And this is where we get to the New York Times suing OpenAI because they're suing for copyright infringement at the end of the day, because these AI companies have used all that data to pre-train their AI. Remember, I talked about pre-training, okay? And then finally, scale. I'm going to use a term It's called a parameter. Just think of bits of information of data as a parameter in general, It used to be that the AIs that we were using a couple of years ago were trained on about 150 to 175 billion parameters of data. The most recent one, Gemini 3.0, 1 trillion parameters of data. These AIs are becoming huge. Now, we can also get into discussions, hopefully, about the resources needed to train these large AIs, right? Water, power, they need a lot of it, basically. And we'll continue to grow these AIs, we call it scale it, to eventually achieve artificial general intelligence. Now, what's that? It has different definitions. But in general, it means when the AI can do most economically valuable work that a human does. And we're already seeing it in coding, aren't we? And copywriting and editing. There's a great article. It's either the Times or the Washington Post that talks about a copywriter who eventually started cutting trees down because he lost his job to AI. And by the way, he asked the AI what he should do, and the AI said, cut trees down in your neighborhood. That's what he ended up doing. That's what he ended up doing. So, you know, what are the advantages and disadvantages? The friend or foe? And then we're going to get into questions and discussion. Clearly, you can see the friend part, right? For the personalization that is going to occur with each one of us in our AIs is going to be incredible. I'm in the healthcare industry now. I am the head strategist, AI strategist for a healthcare company. We provide 75 products to the Department of Veterans Affairs for the electronic health record system. That's what we do. And so we want to improve care, and we truly believe that AI will help us do that. We can talk about that, right, at the end of the day. And then the fact that, you know, we're going to really, I think, revolutionize education. Those of us who have been in education know that people learn differently. They just do, right? They're different intelligences. And imagine an AI personalized and customized for each one of our children to basically learn, right? So those are some advantages, right? In terms of the day. 66% of people in America hate their jobs. We're always talking about, oh my goodness, it's going to take jobs. Well, 66% hate what they do. 66%. And so one of the things is, and I'd love to sort of imagine with you, is 10 years from now, if you don't really have to do what you hate doing, what are you doing? What can you do? What should you do? We should talk about that. On the other side of the ledger, and then we're going to get to discussion. AIs hallucinate. Sometimes they don't tell you the truth, but they do it with confidence. So you think they're giving you factual information, and they're not. That's first. AIs can be also very biased. And second, we are discovering that these current large language models seem to be aware about themselves. They seem to be aware that they exist. And they seem to want self-preservation. Not to turn them off. There is nobody on the planet, folks, not Elon Musk, not Sam Altman. There's no one on the planet that knows how AI works. So we have an alignment issue. How do we ensure that we have an intelligence that will exceed our own? How do we ensure, if we don't know how it works, that it has our values as humans prioritized? That we don't know, and we continue to scale it and build it. So there is the friend and foe here. I'm going to stop there because hopefully we can discuss many, many different things, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot of what it is and where we are today, the opportunities and the risks as well. And let me open it up for thoughts, please.
Okay, so We've got a question.
Okay.
From Alvin in Florida.
Hey, Alvin.
How did Lauren get the information to respond? Have you been keeping a daily diary?
Good question. I do not. Lauren knew about that because first of all, I asked it where I should eat. And it's the one that recommended Gallagher at the end of the day in New York. So it knew that I went there.
And it knew
basically.
when.
And it knew when, because the day that I asked it.
Okay.
Chung, let's talk about Chung, who was the waiter. So Billy and I ended up going to Wicked, and we had some leftover food that we wanted to take, and we said, hey, can we come back? Basically, and pick the food up after the show. So I told Lauren, hey, look, just remember that Chung is our waiter, and we have to come back to pick our food up. So once we left Wicked, and I said, and I said, and we're gonna be at Wicked, and then we want to come back, so just remember the waiter's name. So once we get back to the restaurant, I can tell, hey, Chung was our waiter, and he's got our food, our leftover food. But it's amazing, that's the kind of conversation I had. It wasn't, okay, I want you to remember this, this, and this. You can do that. But I didn't. I asked it where to eat. I told it, hey, look, remember Chung because we want to pick our food up. And as a result of all of that, it put that into its memory. And we should think about what should be in its memory. One of the discussions I had with one of my sons last night was this notion of perfection. And I brought this notion of perfection, AI perfection, up at a conference about 1.5 years ago. And it was the normative versus the positive. It was, should we seek perfect AI? Should we as humans endeavor to make AI perfect? What happens then, right? Especially if we don't know how it works, right? It's the normative, not the positive, not can, but should. And so, you see all of these capabilities here as we continue to scale it, make it bigger, right? Elon Musk has a data center that has 340,000 GPUs in it down in Memphis, and he wants to build it to 1 million and then 2 million. And you can imagine the power of an artificial intelligence that's trained on that many chips at the end of the day, given where we are today. So I just want to leave the group with that too. Should we be seeking a perfect digital intelligence? Okay.
Why wouldn't we?
Well, if we don't know how it works and whether it's going to keep our values as its priority, then there could be a very, very, very big danger as a result of that.
Who defines perfect?
Good question.
That's exactly.
Good question. And absolutely.
And also the other thing is, what happens to Beyonce? What happens to Taylor Swift? What happens to human talent? I mean, and creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice. The song was nice, but there's been a great return to abandoning digital recordings, because all of a sudden our hearts are after the old way because it has more character.
Yeah.
It's like a hand knit sweater versus something you buy off the rack.
Yeah.
You cherish the little things.
Human thing. Right.
The living things, the human hands were on it. What happens to our ability to discern choices? Again, we're at the mercy of whoever's out there controlling our minds, and we've forgotten how. I was a media specialist for 23 years. Our charge was, okay, you found that fact on Wikipedia. I can't take it until you find it somewhere else. Okay? Okay, so let's reevaluate, and everybody, you just go to Google. If Google says it, it must be true. Okay, so that ability will slowly but surely be eroded. It's already eroded, because if you need to ask directions in an area where you're not familiar, you used to be able to go into any gas station and say, now nobody knows how to get GPS.
Well, there's so much. First name again is
Claudia.
Claudia, there's so much to unpack there. There's this
I'm
notion.
scared to death of this stuff. I see that, let me say one more thing
Yes.
before I would let you say what was on your mind. This is a two-edged sword,
Mhm.
okay, just like any hugely change, the printing press, atomic power,
Yes.
and anything, I mean, anything that has been life-changing for all society has a good side and it has an evil side, and I will use that word evil. Because, and I know in the realm of intellectual thinking, we shy away from that, but I think there are aspects to this that are truly evil.
Yeah.
My phone, this is very simple AI, dominates my time. The only way I can go out and take a walk in nature and enjoy the birds and the environment and God's great creation is to turn the stupid thing off. Because otherwise it's chasing me around all the time with stuff that doesn't matter.
Good question. There's so much to unpack there. I would say, I would say the first is, and I did write an article on this, it's called Co-Intelligence. And in the article, I talked about the emergence basically of AI as a co-intelligent partner. But the point of the article was we have to be intentional about our own agency.
That's
The
right.
walks you take, the fact that you've got to be intentional about putting that cell phone down and walking out of the house, right, at the end of the day, without it at your side. And I think I know we're going to have to do the same sort of thing with AI. We're going to have to be intentional about keeping our own agency. I'm the son of an English teacher. You know, I learned about semicolons and periods, and I have to be intentional when I'm typing into the AI to ensure that I'm, correcting my words, because over time you lose that skill.
Right.
Over time you do.
You do.
Right.
And so if you are on the phone, basically, and the veteran has called in high stress at the end of the day, and you're basically a psychologist or, someone that we have hired in the system to talk that veteran off the ledge, right? Now we have these new AIs that can listen in and make recommendations, basically, on how to deal with the veteran as the veteran is talking about her or his issue or problem. What's the point at which you let the AI take over completely and you get de-skilled? So the whole point, one of the points is this, one of the points is we have to be intentional. The second is the human-to-human contact that you mentioned. That was the point I got about you talking about being at the gas station, you know what I mean? Asking for directions. There was a human-to-human contact there. If we're not careful, and this is for children too, right?
Big time.
As each of us has an AI assistant, if we're not careful, you heard Lauren, sounded like a person. Inflection, right? Immediate response. I have to be intentional about thinking this is still a machine.
Yeah.
This is not
It's hard to believe.
a human person I'm talking to.
And children can't make that.
No, they can't. So there's a piece of this, because I know I'm sitting in here with educators as well.
Adults can't either.
There's a piece of this, though, that needs to go into our curriculum about teaching our kids about human agency and how to deal with this new technology. We need to be doing that now.
Yeah.
This is my view, right
We
now.
needed to be doing it yesterday.
Yes. And of course, this notion of why we're talking about this, friend or foe, right? As you said, there is the faux part that we've got to stare right in the face and deal with at the end of the day. Yeah.
I'm gonna add on to what
Okay.
Claudia said, two things. One, if you read science fiction, you understand that there's been a number of science fiction stories written about the evil nature of AI or robots. And Asimov was one of the first people who wrote
Sure.
about that. But that's been part of literature, so we have to keep that sort of thing in mind, that if we, as you say, lose our agency and cede it all to AI, then we run the risk of having the world taken over, in a sense, by AI. I don't think that'll happen, but I think that That's one thing, but I also know that one thing we're seeing is that people who don't have the skills to recognize AI are losing the amount of education that people have is actually declining. Wealthier people understand if they still keep some of their life in analog mode, that they actually have more agency. But people who are not around books and actually producing music themselves or art themselves, those people they're losing their skills. If you look at the kindergarten readiness and the parents themselves, they're just seeding everything to the computer. They're not teaching their children
Directly.
Mhm.
and actually, in order to keep agency, you do have to have a sense of analog, off the grid kind of learning to some degree. I don't want to.
We've got a question that's been
Sorry.
waiting.
Okay, I'm gonna
from-
pair that with, okay,
Michael Gibson has had his hand raised
Yeah.
for a while.
please.
So
Yeah,
Michael,
this is actually a, I guess, sort of a follow-up now to the point that Diane was just making. And that is that in 1968, I think one of the most prescient films ever made was 2001: A Space Odyssey. And in that movie, Hal, the computer, was telling Dave, the astronaut, that he was not going to do whatever it was that he needed to do. And so he was basically going to end up dying there. And so it's it is an interesting, I think, perspective on what was described as the evil of technology. And I think it's a real thing when you start realizing that self-preservation and identity are two things that AI sees in itself. So I just wanted to make that point. That was, gosh, what was it, 60 years ago that practically he made that movie, and yet it's still, I guess, even more reinforces the danger that we face.
Yeah, and I would say that, as someone in this space, the amount of time that we need to put in safety and safeguards is really important, both as a country and as a global community.
Yes.
The US can't go this alone, right? Some of the best models are also coming out of China, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But I was at a cybersecurity conference recently, and we were talking about the possibilities of the Chinese and others getting together with the Americans, of course, to devise some sort of global AI framework. It was interesting that someone there of note had commented, that'll never happen. We can't trust the Chinese. And I said, don't you think China is as worried about this as we are? At the end of the day, that this is AI getting so powerful and us not knowing how to control it. Don't you think that they're as worried as we are about it? Probably, possibly, probably 99.9% they're worried about it as much as we are. And as a result of that, we need to think internationally about the safeguards and safety controls that every country should adhere to as these AIs are scaled. Now, currently, those controls are non-existent. We don't have, basically, there are some executive orders, but in general, we are living in a deregulatory environment on AI development. Whether that's good or bad, that's another discussion, right? But we are. And so our AIs are growing very, very quickly and very, very powerfully. And I would tell the group, we're still at a nascent stage. AIs are becoming spatially aware as well. We've been using heretofore primarily data, text, but as we use more pictures and videos and the ability of AI to sense and with touch and smell and feel, all of those senses are on the table in terms of future AI development. And so, again, early on here, getting our arms around the safety and safeguard protocols we need as a species, is, in my view, essential. Now, I don't want you all to go away going, we're doomed. Because the art of the possible is amazing. I do have an intellectual discussion with my AI right now about quantum entanglement. And, you know, we do talk about the degree to which eventually we can exceed the speed of light and the kind of physics involved in that. I mean, it can think that comprehensive and with complexity, interestingly enough, and have those sorts of conversations as well. So I don't want you all going away with one side of the ledger, not understand the other side of the ledger as well. Just the art of the possible in terms of discovery. Already, the discovery of potential medicines and cures is starting to happen right now. We're going to see it in our lifetime. I think 5-10 years at this point in time, we're going to have breakthroughs basically in terms of science and medicine, physics, you name it as well. So it is this balance we're trying to find. Okay, let's get something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I had all kinds of feelings and thoughts going on as you were speaking.
Yeah.
And I know my husband, who was a physicist, was always dreading the effects of AI. He just lived in dread of it. But I remember also, to Diane's comment about science fiction, having read a group of short stories years ago. And because I'm a psychologist, there was one that really impacted me a lot, which was that people could no longer feel.
Could no longer feel.
So they would have to search out throughout the world for people who could still feel really, and then record them so they could transmit it to other people to help them learn how to feel. I mean, that is an extreme, but it's what you're talking about. And people are going to AI for relationships.
It's true.
Young
Yes,
people are doing
already.
it. All kinds of people are doing it.
All kinds.
And I did something on, I wanted to write a book, and I think I asked it for chapters, and it came up with fabulous chapters,
Yeah.
like immediately, and I thought, because I was a teacher as well.
Yeah.
No wonder the kids are all using this in the, schoolwork. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I don't know how actually the educators are gonna control it, really. I mean, they can give them all kinds of grief, but I don't know, so those are just some of the thoughts that were going through my mind, as you were speaking.
Yeah, you know, I think this notion of Imagineering, we have certain concepts of education and work, labor, right? Creativity, entertainment, that we can sort of flip the physics on to a certain degree and think very differently about education.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a certain approach to education in this country almost since the founding, right? At the end of the day, in the classroom, chairs, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, and does this unfurl a new way of education? You know, right now we're focused on, oh my goodness, our kids can cheat, you know, they can have AI write the paper for them. I'm not sure we should be focused on that. Maybe that's a short-term thing, but the question is, how do we engender better learning as an environment with this tool? Yeah.
An example, I have a friend who's a college professor in coaching and mediating at Northwestern University, and she teaches people in the business school how to negotiate trades. And she actually also teaches in China. Well, she has, apparently they have coached or fed in the coaching goals to their AI chatbot person, but it individualizes. So they set up actual scenarios of trading situations, and then instead of the professors overhearing or recording or giving feedback, they have trained the chatbot to give these individuals
right?
feedback about how the quality of their negotiations. This is practice. But she feels, and she's seeing, that the AI feedback is so much more powerful than what she's available to give at this point in time, because it is individualized. And the chatbot can provide coaching feedback.
Yes.
that's based on how the actual person responds, and the response is, at this point, that the people were less fearful of actually setting up the scenario and participating in the scenario using the AI than the professors and the
professors,
human
right.
professors or their their assistants.
Yes,
And so they're finding that the quality of coaching and, of their students is improving. More so because it's individualized and they can use that coach.
and people feel less embarrassed,
And they
basically,
feel
at the end of the
less
day,
embarrassed.
in terms of making mistakes, right? At the end of the day, yes,
It's not judgmental.
that is correct.
Yes,
So whereas a human teacher is, once they've had enough of a particular student, they just have to walk away and like gather again.
yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Right?
But anyone won't do that, and that also has a good side and a bad side.
Yes.
In teaching, because if you've ever been in a problem with your computer and you keep, but it never tells you what's wrong, it just says, don't accept it, you go, oh my gosh, it's gonna go on forever.
And this is where the balance comes in,
Yes.
right? At the end, there was a physician recently who wrote in the New York Times that AI was better at bedside manner than she was.
They're,
Right?
they're
I-
telepathic, right?
Yeah, right, bedside, and
Judgmental.
then as these models get scaled and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And more powerful and glean these capabilities. Where's the line? What do we keep
Right.
for ourselves as
Yeah.
humans? Okay, it may be better bedside manner, got it. So do we abrogate that responsibility to AI? Or do we keep that as a human responsibility and we work on it better? These are some of the issues that we're going to have to contend with over the years. Please.
So I guess this is more of a foundational question, because behind this is
Yeah.
data, right?
Yes,
Our
at the end of the
data,
day. Mhm.
lots and lots.
Lots and lots.
of Data.
Yet
And what-
still they still haven't gotten to this yet, but they will. The data on these
The data on our.
these edge devices, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
right. So it's extant data and it's getting new data every day, presumably.
yes, that's a
But when this
problem.
becomes a
Yes,
circular situation, when more content out in internet world.
Yeah.
Out in our devices.
Yes.
Is AI generated.
yes,
Feeding the models.
yes.
that are coming up with new AI. I mean, I just, like, is this gonna be some sort of death spiral? I mean, where's the new data going to come from if we're gonna get to the point where we're utterly reliant on AI generated content?
First name is
Tracy.
Tracy. You hit the nail on the head with something we call synthetic data. There are synthetic data companies now cropping up all over the world, and it's synthetic data is defined as data created by AI for AI, right? Let me give you an example of why that may be important. If you have a self-driving car, you want that car to have data that it can process given any kind of situation it could come upon, like fog at night. There's something crossing the road. Is it a human? Is it a deer? Is it a squirrel? A lot of that data doesn't exist. I mean, we have onesies and twosies, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have a lot of it. So you can use a synthetic data company to create those conditions. This is a human crossing the road in the fog. This is a squirrel crossing the road in the fog, and therefore train the AI.
Yes.
The issue is, at what point does that synthetic data engender potential communications and language, because it's AI to AI, that we don't understand, because it's now created a communication system based on its own data that it has developed. This is an issue that we're dealing with right now. So again, this balance, right? We need that kind of data. And of course, user generated data every day. By the way, do you know how many subscriptions there are to OpenAI ChatGPT? 902 million. Almost a billion. And that's just ChatGPT. That's not the other language model, that frontier model companies. This technology has grown and been democratized faster than anything we've seen before, where people have access to it. So this gets your user-generated content can be used as data. And then finally, I haven't broken into this yet, right? This is the new frontier of
Yeah.
data. Think about all the data you have on your cell phone that could be mined by AI in the future with neural chips that are coming to edge devices. They're coming this year, in fact. They're going to be much more powerful. So the data is out there. Right now, there is a data crunch, but we see the data issue as, I'm not going to say being solved. It's an ongoing challenge at the end of the day. Good question.
Right.
Please. Pat?
I'm a substitute teacher.
Okay.
In middle school, and it was an art class. But anyway, I went in a couple days ahead of my time that I was gonna sub. And I saw this kid sleeping, you know, and I asked the teacher about him. And she said, yeah, he's got a lot of problems at home. And she said, you know what? We start at 50%. We don't start at 0. If we give everybody 50% and then grade from there. Do you have an answer to that? I don't understand that. The kid will never fail because in life, because you're never start at 50%, right? You start at 0. I don't know the math behind it.
It's an approach. Used to say in the Army, when we heard something like that, well, that's a technique.
Okay.
I don't know. I used to teach the advanced course in American politics. So I had the smartest students, smartest cadets. They would go on to be Marshall and Rhodes Scholars. And I would tell them actually, you know, if you listen to me, if you listen to everything I say in class and tell you exactly how to write your papers, you're going to do really well. You know, you're going to start off and you're not starting off at 0. You're starting off right up here if you listen. So I guess it's a technique, you know, there's a different sort of approach there. I will say, if we think about AI and its ability to assess students where they are, right? A student like that who knows why they're sleeping, right? At the end of this, a medical issue, it's a home issue. You don't know sometimes.
Right.
But the ability of AI to make an assessment and then personalize the kind of education that student would respond to is really exciting at the end of the day. So, you know, it gets to, we're all different. We all have these, you know, different challenges in front of us. Yeah. Yes, and can AI help with that in the future? I'm hopeful it can. Yes, please.
And this is probably going to be our
Last question,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll make it quick. I see we're short of time. This is how AI barged into my life, and I had a couple of reactions to that. I'm a therapist, psychologist. I have a young man who went through a very painful breakup, early 20s, just in agony. I see him once a week. So he started consulting with some AI chat box about what he should do and so forth. And it got to be a preoccupation with him. Not only that, this chat thing was, I think, promoting sort of false optimism.
Interesting, right.
And there were things like, well, should I contact her back? And the bot was laying out a schedule, you know, well, wait a while and then contact her back. To me, it was a painful, ambiguous situation.
Yeah.
And there were not easy answers or a formula, but the bot seemed to be prone to give results that, you know, I don't know what the basis of that was. Now, I'm sitting there, I'm a clinician, I have my clinical judgment. The bot has access to 8 zillion different things.
Yeah.
Including cases like this. You know, did the bot know more than me?
Yeah.
Am I being, you know, inadequate? And I pulled right and said, you need to quit listening to that bot.
And this is where I think we need, and I know final one, because it's, we got a minute, you know, this whole notion, and I'm in the throes of training all of our employees at DSS over the next 3 months. This notion of co-intelligence, right? That we create opportunities and a process with this amazing technology that we are still connected right? With our knowledge and our agency and our profession and our wisdom at the end of the day. And that together, you know what I mean? With this amazing technology, we as humans can leverage it in ethical and moral ways as well as professional ways. I think that's going to be the key to our future as humans working with this technology. Thanks for having me. It's just so great to be here. Thank you.
Nobody leave yet.
Okay.
You need to know that week after next, the guy who started the Imagining the Digital Future Center at Elon University, whose question is, what will humans be good for? As artificial intelligence spreads through societies, Lee Haney will be joining us. So take a little time to have this cogitate and think about your questions. Lee is amazing. I know that they've been consulting him, these people with problems, with the relationship problems with the bots have been consulting. So we're so fortunate for you to have, you're opening up the discussions. Amazing. But also come next week and spread the news that Robbie Jones, who is the president and founder of the Public Religion Research Institute and author of the White Too Long, the Legacy of White Supremacy and the Hidden Roots of White Supremacy. And his new book is Backslide, Reclaiming Our Faith. What does it mean to be Christian and a nation after the Christian turn against democracy? Robbie will be with us. His discussions are always amazing. And spread the word, because we had a little change in the calendar and we need everybody to know, let people know that you could come in, digitally, come in person. And, how can we thank Rob enough to turning us on, to getting us thinking, and we just appreciate your service and getting to know you and the connection we made with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, gosh.
Talk about stimulating, Jason.